I thank the chair for those kind and generous words. And I do rise in strong support of this critical legislation. As chairman of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Subcommittee, or THUD as we call it, I want to first thank my partner and ranking member, Mario Diaz-Balart, for his cooperative and collaborative relationship this year and for many years prior, including when our roles were reversed. Madam Chair, the bipartisan work we do in assembling our subcommittee bills reflects an earlier era when appropriations presented a united front throughout this process. That era, regrettably, has passed. But the cooperative work remains at the subcommittee level, and what we've done has made this a better bill, and hopefully will help us achieve agreement eventually and finalize THUD and other bills. Division A of the bill, the THUD section, represents our continued commitment to upgrading our aging transportation infrastructure, addressing our nation's affordable housing and homelessness crises, bolstering our resiliency in the face of climate change and natural disasters, remedying inequities and disparities in our housing and transportation systems, and prioritizing safety, whether that's eliminating hazards in public housing or improving the certification of aircraft. Overall, the bill includes $90.9 billion in discretionary funding. That is an increase of $9.85 billion over the current year. The bill also provides $76.6 billion to fully fund programs that utilize the Highway Trust Fund as part of last year's historic and bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. For housing, we continue to ensure housing stability for nearly 5 million people by fully renewing all housing choice vouchers and meeting renewal needs of public housing assistance grants and several other initiatives. This is coupled with new investments, including more than 140,000 new tenant-based vouchers for low-income families and people experiencing the risk of homelessness, over 5,600 new affordable housing units for seniors and people with disabilities, more than 6,700 new vouchers for veterans experiencing homelessness, and youth aging out of foster care. The bill also provides an 8% increase for the home program, 11% increase for Neighbor Works, and a historic 29% increase for Choice Neighborhoods, a program that, like housing for the elderly and people with disabilities, our subcommittee has brought back into production after they were on life support. I was able to see some of these life-changing investments firsthand in my own state in Winston-Salem, where I toured a Choice neighborhood with my colleague Kathy Manning, and there are more to come. Importantly, the bill provides for the first time a major investment in our nation's manufactured housing by providing $500 million for a new program to preserve and revitalize this essential form of housing that has too long been overlooked. Many of these communities have faced significant infrastructure and resilience challenges. This bill recognizes the opportunities that will come from direct investments in manufactured housing, a portion of our housing stock that provides for over 20 million people. On the transportation side, the bill upholds the commitment to respond to transportation needs across all modes: highways, transit, rail, aviation, bike and pedestrian, and ports. It invests in the safety and reliability of our passenger and freight rail system, including a combined $1.2 billion for the CRISI program and the Federal-State Partnership for Intercity Passenger Rail. That is a signature, has been, remains a signature emphasis of our subcommittee. I'm particularly proud of this aspect of the bill as we build out the Raleigh to Richmond corridor, the next step in the Southeast corridor, from Washington to Charlotte and eventually Atlanta. These regional corridors represent the future of passenger rail in this country, and they're critical to lowering congestion, lowering greenhouse gas emissions. The bill also provides robust funding for our transit infrastructure, including $3 billion for capital investment grants or new starts to create new transit routes nationwide, and $646 million for transit infrastructure grants to help transit agencies innovate and improve public transit. Before closing, I too want to thank the staff, our staff, for their immeasurable contributions to this bill and to thank them for guiding the members and staff on both sides of the aisle through this process, starting with our wonderful Chief Clerk, Christina Monroe, as well as Josephine Eckert, Winnie Chang, Javier Arriaga, Samhita Subramanian, and Rachel Kais, along with Lee Whitaker on my personal staff and Doug Disrude for the minority. Since this is my last time presenting the THUD bill, I also want to mention all the staff who've helped me and my colleagues through the subcommittee process since I took on the ranking member and then eventually the chairman's role. That includes 3 previous clerks, Kate Hallahan, Joe Carlisle, Matt Washington, and it includes Angela Ohm, Sarah Puro, Becky Salway, Jenny Mueller, and Gladys Barcina of the subcommittee, as well as Laura Thrift, Kate Retzer, Sean Maxwell, and Nora Blaylock from my own staff. Thanks, a hearty thanks to all of you. So in closing, Mr. Chairman, this year's THUD bill makes forward-looking investments in our housing and transportation infrastructure while bolstering safety and uplifting vulnerable populations. It will benefit communities across America and lay a strong foundation for economic growth and resiliency. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation.